What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 323 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and this is the Hot Tags edition of the week, where I will be breaking down some of the current events, rumors, news, gossip, and anything else going on in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment over the past few days. I've been doing that same intro for a little while now. It's getting pretty easy to do it now. How's everybody doing today? I am recording this a little bit ahead of time. This is Sunday night. The Eagles just won the Super Bowl not that long ago. Looking at my watch that I don't have on my hand. I haven't worn a watch in, I don't know, 15 years, so I'm kind of curious why I was looking at a watch right then. Pulling a Stone Cold from the 1997 Royal Rumble, I guess. I don't know. Go Philly, I guess. The city is already burning in certain ways, so I'm not surprised at all there. But I figured I would try to take care of the hot tags ahead of time to make sure that I could get them to you this week. I mentioned that before, and I am able to get it to you. And we got a couple things to talk about here. One of them is a big topic for spoilers at the very least. So I'm going to save that one for last in case everybody just doesn't want to know what happens with that. But that's the NXT tapings. We'll get around to that when we get around to it. Beforehand, we're going to do everything else. When I talk about all this stuff, make sure you chime in with your comments below. Tell me what you think about all these different subjects. And, yeah, okay. So let's just go ahead and get started here. Jason Jordan's neck injury may be a lot more on the dangerous side than what had previously been indicated. It seems like he's got some neck issues that are giving him actual grip issues, and that does not sound all that good. If you have a neck issue and you've got problems maintaining your grip, that means that it seems like it's a more significant kind of injury, and I think that this is going to start to kind of make them change some plans up a little bit. We saw that they changed the new tag team championship over back to the bar again. And I'm assuming that that's mostly for that reason. And we haven't seen Jason Jordan perform really since then. I mean, he's come out and he's talked and different things like that, but he's not sitting there tossing around people in the ring and everything. I would not be shocked at all if Jason Jordan is not a part of this year's WrestleMania, or if he is, that he is just another generic person in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But I think that this cuts out that Seth Rollins match. I didn't anticipate that Jordan would be involved with Angle. I know that some people were suggesting Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan, myself being one of those people. I thought that if they were to go down a specific route like that, it could have been a possibility. And the Rollins and Jordan thing seemed like it was going to potentially happen. If we don't see that, I'm actually happy for that. It just sucks that it would have to be in this kind of scenario. But I think that they're going to look at this and they're going to go, you know what? Jason Jordan is not somebody that we need to prioritize right now. I mean, I like the guy and all that, but if we lose him on the card, it's not going to be like losing Brock Lesnar at the moment or something like that. And it would be better for him to lose out on WrestleMania with some rinky-dink, shitty little feud with Seth Rollins than for him to wrestle it and then not be able to wrestle half of the rest of the year or something like that. It sucks to miss WrestleMania, of course. But if you don't have anything that significant going on ahead of time, you got to rest up. You know, you got to get your surgery or whatever you need to do. And that needs to be something that they prioritize even more. So over the next, 2 weeks or so, we'll know all of the people that are involved in the Elimination Chamber. And I would not be shocked at all if tomorrow night, actually, on Monday Night Raw, if we see something like Seth Rollins versus Sheamus or Cesaro, and one of them gets a spot in the Elimination Chamber, and then we see Seth Rollins get a spot. I think that that's going to happen. And as far as WrestleMania goes, I think Rollins is just going to be in that Andre match. So I wouldn't put too much into this. If you're a big Seth Rollins fan, I think that he's not going to have anything good going into WrestleMania. And if you're a Jason Jordan fan, I would think even less as far as that's concerned. But there is still a possibility that, you know, they do the testing and that the reports aren't necessarily true. Maybe he isn't as bad as it seems right now, according to the dirt sheets. It's not looking all that good. Another quick side thing, I'm not even adding this into the notes, but some people were, or at least one person in particular, tweeted out to Tyson Kidd saying that whenever Samoa Joe gets injured, that they feel like this is karma for his injuring Tyson Kidd. Thankfully, Tyson Kidd pointed out to him, like, no, that's just a fluke thing. Fuck you. Sort of, you don't wish somebody to get injured like that. It's not good. Anyway, let's move on to a happier topic here, because this is, like, the only happy topic to really talk about. Somebody was in Walmart, and they were looking at wrestling action figures, and they apparently asked the person next to them, to read the story, this person says, totally random, I think it was their mother. She went to look for figures and asked this man if he knew anything about wrestling. He reached for this figure and said, "This is me." And that person was Bray Wyatt. So you're at Walmart and you just kind of go, I don't know anything about this fucking wrestling stuff. Excuse me, sir, you look like you're some kind of tough guy that would like wrestling. What do you know about WWE? Then he just ends up being like, yeah, I'm actually one of these figures. That would be pretty strange. So I thought that was really funny. Pretty interesting little story. Not often do we get a chance to throw out little quick things like that for the hot tags. There's usually reports about injuries and firings and heat backstage and stuff, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit too. But yeah, that's a good little story. I like that one quite a bit. And you got to imagine that he was equal parts embarrassed and completely embarrassed for that woman and everything. And I would hope, at the very least, that she would have bought that figure then and would have been like, oh, okay, I'll pick this one up then. You're so nice. Like, instead of being like, oh, okay, yeah, my kid doesn't like you. Where's the John Cena one or something? So I mentioned that we were going to talk about backstage heat. Let's talk about Booker T and Corey Graves. Apparently, Booker T, not a big fan of Corey Graves. I'm going to read off some of the things here, but he said in his latest podcast on Heated Conversations, I'm going to read some quotes to you guys. If I got Corey Graves into a fisticuffs, I would beat him down like he stole something. I would be whooping his ass all day. My thing is this. I'm such a nice guy, or I'm a nice guy until you get on my bad side. Corey Graves, I wouldn't necessarily say he's on my bad side right now, but he's the reason that I'm not on Monday Night Raw right now. A lot of people in the company thought I was going to jump on him. I was going to do something bad to him. I was going to drag him. I was going to take him out to the woodshed. I was going to beat that man so bad that he was going to say, please, please, just don't beat me anymore. That's how hot I was getting. That's how close I was getting. So he also said, the WWE said to him, we want to move you to the kickoff and stuff. We don't want you to do anything with Corey Graves. He elaborated a little bit on this and said, if I catch Corey Graves on the street, I'm going to do something to him. I ain't going to do it at the office or the airport, but if I catch Corey Graves on the street, you see that little bouffant hairdo he got? I'm going to rearrange it for him. Everybody knows my reputation. I get mean if you mess with my green. And right now, my green is being messed with. Is WrestleMania coming up, right? There's room for one more match at WrestleMania. Right now on my show, I'm calling Corey Graves out for a fight, not a match, not a pre-show pose down or anything like that. I'm calling Corey Graves out to a fight. I'm talking man to man, mano a mano, you and I. Okay, first things first, we need to unpack this as a potential angle. Yes, there is a very, very good chance Corey Graves and Booker T are in on something and they want to just kind of make it seem interesting, and they're like, hey, why don't we kind of act like you hate me or something like that. Do not underestimate the idea that that is a possibility here. However, if that is not the case and this is legitimate, then that's not good. Corey Graves has kind of followed suit with Michael Cole and a lot of the commentators at certain points where they pick on certain people. And Booker T is somebody that you can't pick on the same as you would pick on Byron Saxton, because Booker T is going to fight back. Booker is an easy target to pick on, that's for sure. But I'm sure he has his ego that gets into the way of certain things, and I'm sure he doesn't appreciate getting picked on if that's the case. And if there was a situation where maybe they got just a couple jokes just went the wrong way and something like that, could very, very easily happen, because a lot of people, I'm thinking like a good 75% of the people that are out there in the universe right now, they don't seem to be able to understand that maybe they misinterpreted something, like, you could say a joke, for instance. You could say like, all right, well, actually, I'll give you a little bit of credit from history of mine. I remember I was dating or about to date this girl, and I said to her something or whatever. She said to me something back, and I was like, ha ha ha, you're crazy. And she did not like that at all. And she actually, like, that was pretty much the last time that I talked to her. Me just flat out going like, you're crazy. She took that as like, I mean, you're legitimately insane and all this other kind of stuff. So Booker could be one of those people. Maybe Corey just threw some kind of, you're crazy type of comment, and Booker was just sort of like, whoa, dude, fuck you. That's not cool. Or maybe Corey Graves is a dick. I mean, he seems like he could be. So maybe he's just a dick. And Booker doesn't want to deal with his bullshit and told him, yo, you better stop fucking messing around with me or I'm going to knock you out. And maybe they brought in Coachman and they said, you know what, you really need to replace Booker because we can't really not have Corey and Cole and whatever. Booker T is the most expendable one of the two. We can put him in the kickoff stuff. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I would have thought more than anything that Coachman would have been brought on and they would have just looked at Booker as the replacement instead of looking for a replacement for Booker. But now this is starting to call that into question. Maybe the whole thing was that they've been looking for a replacement for Booker, and Coachman and just ended up just kind of like stepping up and fulfilling that role. Pretty interesting to think about. And with the whole idea of like Booker going back onto the pre-shows and stuff, who's to say they don't have Corey Graves on one of them one time? You know what I mean? Very, very interesting. Let's see. We have two more topics to talk about. The other one that is not the spoiler-based one is about the Mixed Match Challenge. And I love that there are all these reports going around that say WWE is not happy with the viewership. Yeah, well, no shit. The viewership is not good. They fell something like 30% from the first week to the second week, and then they fell another like 30% or 12% or whatever the case it was. But it fell, whatever it was. So they went from a debut that I'm assuming is probably not as good as they were expecting, and then they had big drop off, and then they had another drop off, and you got to assume week 4 is probably not going to do as good as week 3 did, or week 2 or week 1 by any means. And if people weren't going to tune in to watch Sami Zayn and Becky Lynch and Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss of all people, those two in particular, then I don't think that they're going to be watching Mandy Rose and Goldust or Jimmy Uso and Naomi or something like that, right? It's something that makes me think WWE, maybe they oversold themselves, maybe they reached a little too high, or maybe they just had confidence in the wrong thing. But the Mixed Match Challenge was something that very early on you had to have known there wasn't buzz for it. I'm the only one that I know that watches the damn thing. And the only reason I watch the damn thing is because I am reporting on it on my site. If I wasn't doing that, if I wasn't posting things on eWrestling News about that and Smark Out Moment, then that wouldn't be the case. I don't watch Main Event. Main Event is something that when they do the tapings, I can plug that in on my spoilers thing right before Monday Night Raw. It takes me 2 minutes to do that, and then that's it, and I don't have to watch it. If I could do that with a Mixed Match Challenge, I would certainly do that. And Facebook Watch is not the same as the WWE Network, and it's not the same as USA, and it's also the same thing that I had mentioned before about 205 Live. There are too many things to watch with wrestling right now. You've got 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, an hour of 205 Live, an hour of NXT. If it's a pay-per-view week, then you've got another 4 hours of that. If it's a big pay-per-view, you've got, 10 hours worth of, 11 hours worth of stuff for Saturday and Sunday? You can't watch like 3 or more full days in a row of wrestling. And then if you count the WWE Network stuff, and then if you count the YouTube content, and you're also technically supposed to be reading what articles they put up on the website, even though it ends up being the same shit over and over and over again, then what is your whole entire life supposed to be WWE? It can't be. So I don't think that this is a surprise at all, and it shouldn't have been for WWE. They should have gone into this knowing Mixed Match Challenge is not going to be some huge rousing success. Now, if they were thinking about originally doing an all-women's show, I think that with this information, they should try. Now, it sounds a little ridiculous at first, but hear me out. they'll go through this mixed match challenge, and by the end of it, they're going to see what the drop-off was and what the interest was and how supportive everybody was and everything. And if they go pretty much like right into an all-women's program, mixed match challenge is going to end right before WrestleMania or right after WrestleMania. I think it's right before. And if they go and they do some kind of maybe 6-week long women's tournament thing, Queen of the Ring or whatever, as mentioned before, then if you can compare the growth of that, that would be pretty interesting, because if that is the same, then it proves that the platform is the issue. If it's better, then it means that it was the mixed match challenge issue. If it's worse, it might mean that there isn't an audience out there for women's wrestling. But you can't just make another show like a 205 Live and dedicate way too much resources to it. Too many resources, I should say. But you also kind of can't not try. You know what I mean? So this is something I think that they need to look at for the next couple of weeks. They need to see what the trajectory is and how things actually pan out, because then that's another thing. They can prove what their statistics are, and they can have Dana Brooke or whatever. If they project that it's going to hit a certain mark and they're not anywhere close, then that means that they're not running the right numbers. And if they are right on the dot, then it means that they can actually predict this stuff, and they knew what was going to be happening, and that this was just sort of more of a write-off. But I think this proves much more than anything else that Facebook Watch is not a platform yet. It is not a Netflix. It is not a WWE network. It is not a streaming service that you can bank on yet, and it might not ever be. So if that was their goal, was to try to get Facebook to want to buy the rights to WWE programming, not gonna happen. Nope. So finally, that brings us to the main topic for this week, which is the NXT spoilers for February and March. The tapings just took place. It was a 2-day set of tapings, and I am confused as fuck. This is tough. Again, this is spoilers, so keep that in mind, because with spoilers come spoilers. And if you don't know what's going to happen on NXT over the next little bit of time, then skip to the end, or, you know the deal about all the plugs and stuff like that. Just kind of continue doing that stuff. But as far as, actually, you know what, don't skip to the end. Just mute this and keep it running. That helps me out better. But we had February 1st to February 2nd, we had the set of tapings from Center Stage in Atlanta. And this is supposed to cover from the 7th until WrestleMania. They've got, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes worth of material, I think that is, if I'm counting that right. And we don't have 8 episodes worth of stuff. That's the thing. Let's break down a little bit of some stuff here and there. There's some filler stuff that the filler is just going to be filler. Bianca Belair defeated a jobber twice, I think it was. So who really cares? That's just going to help out her. And that might have been dark matches, and I don't even know who the jobbers were. But we got a couple things that are interesting. Number one, no Lars Sullivan. And there are reports that he has not even been at the Performance Center. Now, one rumor going around is that Lars Sullivan versus Andrade Cien Almas was going to be the NXT TakeOver New Orleans match. I don't buy into that at all. I think that they weren't building anywhere towards that. Sullivan called out Killian Dane, and then Roderick Strong called out Sullivan. Why would that somehow turn into an Andrade Cien Almas match? He's not involved in that whatsoever. It seemed more than likely that Aleister Black was going to be the number one contender, and with this set of tapings, that is what's going to happen. We had Killian Dane against Aleister Black, and it was assumingly for a number one contender spot. Aleister Black wins. Aleister Black versus Andrade Cien Almas for NXT TakeOver. No Lars Sullivan at all, though. Very interesting. On top of that, no Cassius Ohno. Virtually no Velveteen Dream. He defeated No Way Jose, and that's it. Doesn't seem like he's really been built up for anything else. No EC3 at all. So how are they going to bring him in and then not have him actually join the NXT roster? Was it just that they don't have anything for him for TakeOver and that they don't want to use him and not have him seem like he's the TakeOver person? Or is he going to the main roster? Very, very good chance that he could end up being on that SmackDown roster or something. No Ricochet other than, I think, one match. Who did he defeat? He defeated Fabian Eichner, and that doesn't seem to be leading towards anything as far as TakeOver goes. And we also had some more confirmation. Shayna Baszler and Amber Moon. Almost said Amber Moon there. That was a little weird. A little inflection on there. And that seems to have gone the direction that we were kind of expecting, although Kairi Sane must have been ruled out of the mix, where she's not necessarily going to make this a different story. We had that Sanity match with the Undisputed Era, but it wasn't for the titles. So what's going on there? That doesn't seem like that's going anywhere. Then apparently we had Pete Dunne against Roderick Strong, and somehow they're tied into the Undisputed Era. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But even more confusing here, we've got Johnny Gargano's situation and the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. With Gargano, he loses a match against Andrade Cien Almas where it was title or you have to leave NXT. He loses it, he has to leave NXT. He does so when Tommaso Ciampa interferes in the match, and this means that Gargano is out of NXT. So how do you have a guy that's out of NXT perform on the TakeOver card? Well, there are some rumors that there might be an unsanctioned match at TakeOver between Ciampa and Gargano, but I'm thinking that this is a little bit suspicious when it comes to the Cruiserweight title tournament. I think that there is actually a good chance that Johnny Gargano could be going into WrestleMania and fighting and more than likely winning that Cruiserweight Championship. And next week's episode of 205 Live should at least clarify some more of that, because we should get a little bit more information about like some future matches and stuff. And we know that there aren't enough people on the roster right now on 205 Live to do the full 16-man tournament on their own, but they did bring in Tyler Bate and they are bringing in Roderick Strong, so that you still have 2 more spots left at the very least. Johnny Gargano could be one of those. We know that there is a very good likelihood that Candice LeRae and Zelina Vega have a match at TakeOver, although that's not a guarantee. And I'm very confused about the situation with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, because that was announced, and it seems like that is going to be the finals at TakeOver. But there are too many matches that seem like they're going to happen at TakeOver. You can't have the same amount of time frame and do Almas, Aleister Black, Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals, Candice LeRae and Zelina Vega, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, something with the NXT Tag Team titles against I don't know who, and then also maybe like an EC3 match, EC3, the Velveteen Dream, anything like that. That's talking 8 matches. They only have 5. They only ever have 5. Maybe they add another hour? I don't think so, but maybe they do. If they've got a 7 to 8 pre-show and they go 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, maybe they do that and they can have enough room for an 8-match card. But maybe these things aren't going to pan out the same. Because if they have, for instance, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, they have announced that it's an 8-team tournament, if I'm remembering correctly. We've got the Authors of Pain defeated TM61. Sanity defeated Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. Who is it? The Street Profits defeated Heavy Machinery. And the Forgotten Sons, which are Cutler and Blake, are going to be going up against ? So we don't have, going into, if these tapings are all that takes us into WrestleMania, we don't have round 2, and we don't even have round 1 finished because we don't know who the Forgotten Sons are going up against. Are they going up against War Machine? Well, that's kind of strange if War Machine doesn't do their debut on television, if they do it on the live events, right? Because they do this, and they have done this in the past. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic has had matches on the live events that have led towards the finals. But normally they've had maybe a couple first round matches or so, not the last first round match and everything following that. I'm assuming what happens here is they record more content during live event shows and they kind of cram in as much as they can, but it still doesn't seem like that makes a whole lot of sense. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think that there's another set of recordings that are going to be happening before WrestleMania. Let me try to look that up a little bit while I'm talking about this. But yeah, I don't think that there was supposed to be anything coming up in March or something. So if they don't do that, then are we going to depend entirely on like... Okay, actually, it does look like we have Full Sail has on the 7th of March. That might be the last little bit of time for them to record for the 7th, the, what is it on here? 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. That is a necessity. They need to figure out the planning for whatever else they need to do here. But it still is kind of something where if War Machine or something pops up, then... what do we do with some different challengers for the tag titles? What do we do with this? What do we do with that? You know, it's kind of weird because the United Kingdom Championship is in the mix now, and we know at least we've got the NXT Championship match, and we know we got the NXT Women's match. Everything else is kind of up in the air. Well, and we know that we're going to have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals. So we know 3 of the matches that we're going to get for sure. We just don't know who's going to be a part of those finals. Looking at the names that are listed here, I can't imagine it being the Authors of Pain. I actually thought TM61 might get it, but they got knocked down in the first round, so that was very confusing. I thought that they would have been fighting the Forgotten Sons. I am also kind of ruling out Sanity. So it's really, do the Street Profits get it? Or do War Machine? And I'm not familiar with War Machine enough to say I like them or I don't. I've never seen a single one of their matches. I've heard good things, so that's good. But War Machine coming in as like they get this big push, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I would not be shocked at all if that is the case. With the Street Profits, that's the team that I want to win because I like them a lot. And I'm cool with the Authors of Pain winning. I am cool with something strange happening where maybe a different tag team comes out of the mix. I don't really like the Forgotten Sons, so I hope it's not them. But that is not a factor I think we're going to really see going forward. Another possibility for that other team is maybe it's Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, the whole Mustache Mountain thing. Maybe it's a different tag team made out of people that aren't regularly like a tag team. Maybe like they team up. Actually, you know what? It could be the Ely Brothers. That is another tag team that are not factored in here. But I think what we're looking at here is it's Street Profits or it's War Machine. It's probably War Machine. I would not be shocked at all if it comes down to, say, let's see, Street Profits lose to the Authors of Pain in the next round. War Machine beats Sanity, and then War Machine beats the Authors of Pain. That could be the match that they set up, just for, you know, 2 big tough guys against 2 big tough guys or something. Undisputed Era, if they come into the mix, even though they're the tag team champions, it didn't stop the Revival last time around. Maybe it's them. Maybe they go up against the Street Profits or something like that. I don't know. Can't be against Sanity again. Can't be against Authors of Pain again. So it's either for the Forgotten Sons or the blank, or no, it can't be the blank team because they would be the blank team. So it's either the Street Profits or them. Anyway, I am just kind of getting stuck in my own head here and rambling. We had some very confusing breakdown of results when it came to that, and it'll be interesting to see going forward how they formulate these into what episodes, what they record during the live events, and what they record on the tapings on the 7th. But I think it's very interesting that Gargano is doing that whole losing the right to be an NXT thing anymore, right when this NXT or 205 Live thing is happening. And if 205 Live comes around and Johnny Gargano ends up being the guy, it's a good idea. You know, he is popular. He's over with the crowd. He is damn good in the ring. And even though he doesn't have like charisma in the way that a lot of the people want him to be, he does have a certain amount of charisma. So he is like another Cedric Alexander, but more popular. And I like Cedric Alexander a lot. I wish that he could get that damn Cruiserweight Championship, but maybe this isn't the right call for him. Maybe this is Gargano's time. And I would keep my eye on that, just to say. Because if we get Johnny Gargano versus Hideo Itami or something like that at WrestleMania, people are going to be paying attention to it. And right after that, Ciampa ends up being his next challenger, and he ends up winning that title or something like that, then we could be looking at that too. War Machine looks like a possibility. EC3, I'm very interested why they don't have him a part of anything here. No, like, Velveteen Dream and the Lars Sullivan stuff. The most interesting part about the Lars Sullivan thing, to me at the very least, isn't the idea that people are running with this idea that he might have been challenging for that championship. It's more so that he hasn't been popping up at the Performance Center. Is he injured? Or is he suspended? Or potentially going to be released? More on the injury, I would think. And that would kind of explain a little bit of why that Roderick Strong and Killian Dane angle was cut. But you never really know. Anyway, we're past the half-hour mark, and I don't want to ramble too much because I have to get up in a couple hours, and that means I have to be able to fall asleep to be able to get up in a couple hours. So I'm about to down some Benadryl. I hope that works. And as always, everybody, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching this, listening to it, however you want to constitute that. Show your support by subscribing to us and ring that bell for notifications if you want to be aware of the next videos that are going to be popping up. And the next thing is going to be a Smark announce table. We did the first ever Elimination Chamber. It was myself, Robert DeFelice, and Callum Wiggins all talking about that. And we already recorded that. That's in the bag. That's going to be popping up around 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And following that, we're going to be doing the hot tags, of course. And it's going to be a long stretch before these hot tags, so it's probably going to be a lot. And then the call the spot for the Elimination Chamber participants. And then eventually Elimination Chamber predictions and stuff. That's coming up over the next couple of weeks. Pay attention to not only the Smark Out Moment stuff, but also the Fanboys Anonymous stuff. As I've mentioned before, if you want to make sure that I still have that channel going forward, then watch as many videos as you can and hit up the Patreon for Smark Out Moment and for Fanboys Anonymous if you're able to donate $1 or $5 or $10 or whatever the case may be to help us keep going in the future and to help us improve too. Because another thing is, the more funds that I have that go my way, the more motivation I have to just kind of barrel through and get stuff done, and the more resources I could have available to myself to be able to do some different things, to do some special episodes, and to get some newer content out there and more content. And I'm sitting on a couple segment ideas that I haven't had a chance to do yet because I haven't been able to figure out the logos for them or really just kind of have the time all that much. And, you know, donate a little bit of money to the Patreon and we can end up getting that. Especially if you get one of those tiers where you can pick a Patreon exclusive type thing or something like that. And if you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see on the Patreon, of course, hit me up with those as well. I think that's about it. I'm going to ramble a little bit too much more in these plugs, I guess. So I am going to take my leave. Thank you again, everybody, for checking this out. I will see you next time when I see you. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.